25th of August, Rabbi, Furst, Pierke Avos burial.
Morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Good morning. Morning.
Morning.
Good
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Barry.
Morning, Good morning.
How's everyone today?
Good.
Hashem,
well.
morning, Rabbi. How are you?
Okay, okay, so let's see. We're going to continue on with the Rav Moshe. It's Hashem. Let me just see if I can bring it up onto the screen. A minute, should be coming up. Oh, all right. All right, should be on your screen coming up in a minute. There you go. Okay, Rav Moshe, here we are. Actually, we did the Rav Moshe. We're now in the Tzitzi Eliezer.
Right.
Yeah, Tzitzi Eliezer. Let's see here. Tzitzi Eliezer. Right. Okay, the summary. We had the summary. Let's just review the summary of the Tzitzi Eliezer, and then we're going to go on to the Shaish and Shuvas of Chakeles Yaakov. He also speaks about this point. Yeah. Okay. Who would like to volunteer to do a little reading this morning?
I do.
Okay. So let's just review the Tzitzi Eliezer. That should be there in the middle of your second page.
B'chein halacha hayotz os lanu b'zeh hu. Therefore, the halacha that comes out for us, this is it. Ein mitzvos kavora be'avar ha-poresh v'nachsecha me'adam chai. There is not a commandment to bury flesh that's been separated and cut.
Aver.
That literally, it's a limb, because they do make a distinction between a limb and flesh, meaning that a limb is sometimes much more serious, because in terms of, especially in Tuma, is more serious than the just flesh itself.
Right. Okay. So there's no mitzvah to bury a limb that's been separated and cut from a living person. Yesh aval, however, likovro e mishum minhaga. But however, to bury because of a custom, the e mishum kidei shalo yavo o keha kohanim liyitma bo, or if it is because that you don't want to bring a kohen to become tameh.
Well, hold on. I'm not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not sure what he's saying here.
Yes, he said, Yesh aval l'kboroi. There is, however, to bury the limb, either because of a minhag, or because that you don't want the kohanim to become tamim, which that's not like Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe says there is no. He was learning not like the Noda B'Yehuda. Yehuda. He was learning there is no tumah by the Aver. But the Tzitzi Eliezer was learning according to the Noda B'Yehuda that there is. So even though the Tzitzi Eliezer says there's no specific mitzvah of burying an organ or a limb of a living person. Nevertheless, because of a minhag, the minhag is developed, I guess, that we do it, and or because you don't want the kohen to come to be tamei, that would be like the psak of the Noda Yehuda.
Okay,
They should be buried for one of these two reasons.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Shas tzorcha miyuchad yesh leheter gam lehatznio behadar miyuchad. So at the time that is required, at the time that there is a unique requirement, there is a permissibility also to store in a special place, special room.
Right. So if the situation requires it, then you can have it put in a special storage area.
Mutar liyihanos may avar ha-poresh min hachai. It's permissible to benefit from the limb that was separated from a living
Right. That's in contrast to something which has been separated from a mace, meaning it's forbidden to get any hana from a mace. So that's a distinction between if the organ came from a living person or organ came from a deceased person.
Umutar le rofim le hit lamed alav darke refuah, and it's permissible for a doctor to learn from it the way of medicine, the way of healing. So, in other words, that's saying that the medical community could utilize such a limb for experiments to further medical knowledge.
Yep, that's apparently true, right?
Okay. Movain lo lehishlichu leachar mi kan bezoyon. Okay, and we understand that you cannot send it to another in the case of a disgrace.
Right. It's understood that it shouldn't be thrown away in a way that it's going to be disgraced.
So lahashlichu is to throw it away.
Right. We say in the slikas al tashlichenu ve'ezikna, right? Don't cast us away in the time of old age. Al tashlichenu.
Right. Al tashlichenu. Okay. Ella le hatsnio o le corvo. Rather, it should be kept privately or buried.
Right. It should be stored somewhere or it should be buried. Okay. So.
Does anyone know what the general practice in hospitals is? I mean,
What-
how covered are they with these limbs?
In terms of, I don't know, in terms of, let's say a standard non-Jewish hospital, what they do with things.
Yeah, I mean, what's
I have not, it probably governed by health rules, I imagine. I don't know, they may incinerate them. I have no idea.
But so my understanding that what it says is that if someone has a limb amputated for medical reasons, that it's permitted for them to do an autopsy on the limb. But if a person does not survive, then they can't do anything to that body, correct? According to Jewish law?
Yeah, that's the way I understand it. Yeah. Right. Right. Okay. Okay, that was it. Tzitz Eliezer. Now we have here the Chakeles Yaakov, Yeridea, and Shimon Tzadi Hay. Let's see how he explains his opinion on this.
Ha Moram Lanu. I don't know what Hamoram is.
This is teaching us. I mean, based on what he's been saying previously, so we're learning the following.
Okay, so we're learning the following. Dechol hareos mi Gemara she
Even Menachai,
That's
even Menachai.
Achai. So all that all of the proofs in the Gemara about Avram Achai
Ein Surah.
Ein Sorich do not need Kavura Yesh Lidachos.
Oh,
That they don't need burial. I don't know what dachos is.
they can be challenged. They can be challenged. I mean, all the proofs that were brought in from the Gemara that Avram and Achai does not need Kvora, those proofs can be challenged.
V'ad Rabba mi de itarich kara the ein ha kohen mitame le Avram min hachai and to the opposite, to the contrary,
Right. Very good.
that its tarikh is that we need.
Yeah, that it's required. It is the kra that they wanted. The Gemara had to bring a pasuk.
Oh, it required a pasuk that that a kohen does not become tameh from a limb.
Avram and Achai, right? Avram and Achai.
Shema mina.
Yeah, right. Mamina.
So we learn from this the tarikh kavura that it requires burial.
Right. You can bring proofs the opposite way that the Avram and Achai does require kavura.
I don't get that. If it has a pasuk that says that it doesn't cause tuma, how does that prove that you need a burial?
Because the fact that the Gemara needs to bring up, the Gemara was entertaining the possibility that a kohen would be matame for Erev Minachai. So the Gemara brought a pasuk to prove that the kohen's not tame for Erev Minachai, right?
Right,
But you see, if we didn't have the pasuk, you would have to bury the aver, because even without a question of tameh, you'd have to bury the aver simply from the fact that it's going to be something which could cause tuma. It could cause tuma, but in this case, there's an exception. But in general, it would require that it should be buried.
You ate eggs, Susie?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Ukarios,
Ukarias HaMagen Avraham, and it's like the proofs of the Magen Avraham.
like the proofs of the Magen Avraham, Le'inyan Nifalim, in the matter of falling.
Those are miscarriages. When the woman Loleno has a miscarriage, so the fetus comes out. So it's a question whether the fetus needs burial or the fetus needs can mitame the kohenim. Basically, a very similar question.
Okay. Achein kevan digam b'nifalim mechalokes gadola. And there, since also there is concerning a miscarriage, a great argument. What is this I?
It's ayin mashikasav. Mayin mish. 1 second. Ayin mashikasav. I think it's ayin mashikasav medrash shmuel. I think it's ayin mashikasav medrash shmuel. But that's the stay chemed and also stay chemed krach volume hey. Mareches. Okay. Yeah.
So see what is written in the what was the third word?
The Stay Chemed Krach, the Stay Chemed volume 5, Mareches, the chapter Kuf 100, Os Mem.
Oh, I see. Okay, so in other words, look over there.
Yeah, and look, and then the next one's the Chasam Sofer. Look in the Chasam Sofer. That's an Orach Chaim, Simin Kuf Mem Daled. And then look in the Avnei Nezer and Yeridea, Tafayin Base. The Daitam, he brings this whole list. Daitam did Sorech Kivura.
The opinion is that it is required to bury according to the opinion of the Magen Avraham.
Right. So the Kochelos Yaakov was bringing many proofs that in fact the Abraham Minachai needs to have a burial. And
Can I just interject one question? When they went to war, the Kohanim could not fight. How could Kohanim go out and fight in the war, because they never know what's going to happen? So were the Kohanim excused? Did they have a military what do you call it, exemption?
no, not that.
What?
Hanukkah, the Maccabees, they were Kohanim.
That's right. Very good point, Roy. Very
I
good
I'm
point.
sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said the Maccabees, Hanukkah,
Yeah.
they were Kohanim.
If they get tummy, they get tummy. If they have to go out and fight, they go out and fight. And if they get tummy, they get tummy. And if there's a paraduma, so you matire them. If they can't be matired, then they can't be matired. Right?
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
In other words, no, there is not an exemption for Kohanim.
Apparently not. Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Would it be, however, preference that the Kohanim would be excused if they had enough people otherwise?
I'm not so sure. I don't know. When it came from Milchamas Midian, Moshe Rabbeinu sent down Pinchas. The Kohen was one of the ones who led the battle.
Right.
Right. So no, look, if you have to, you got to do what you got to do. It could be. I
Okay.
mean, I don't think that a non-Jew is not matame from that. I mean, the rice, a non-Jew is not matame, if I'm not mistaken.
But an animal is?
No, but the problem is if you're someone next to you, a Jew who's fighting next to you could chas v'shalom get killed.
That's also, yeah, that's
So
right.
I mean, you know, they're at risk during a war. You never know what's going to happen.
Right.
Is an animal matame?
And no, animal is not matame. And animal is not matame. As far as if I remember correctly, an animal is not matame.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Raisi Mevi'in B'Shem Avane Tzedek.
Avnei Tzedek. Avnei Tzedek.
Avnei Tzedek. Is this Eurydeia?
Yes.
Okay, so and Reisi, and we see
Actually, Reisi, I see. Reisi, the Yud makes it I. Reisi, I saw.
I saw from the understanding in the name of the
Mevin is that it's brought. It's brought. I see from what they bring. What they bring in the name of the Avnei Tzedek.
I see from what they bring in the name of the Avnei Tzedek in Eurydeia. This is a page number.
Yes, I think that's in Eurydeia Kuf Mem Hey. That's probably the section numbered 145. The Zelashana. This is a quote.
And this is the quote. Dekevan dekavlo b'nei Yisrael alehen likvor nifalim. That since the Jewish people accepted upon themselves to bury a miscarriage, Mamela, it follows Habe Kamo Chov, that it is like a obligation, Kamo to fill it, to feel us like prayer.
Filas Arvis, like Myriv, davening Myriv. Myriv there's no obligation of Myriv. It was accepted as a minhag But now, once it's accepted upon it,
Oh.
as a minhag, it's now an obligation.
Wait, can we back up for a minute? There's no obligation to daven Marav?
No,
Oh, great. Good, thank you. Whew, off the hook.
but now there is. It used to be not, but now there is. Because it was originally not an obligation, but now the Jewish people have accepted it, as made it a custom. Now, once it's become a custom, now it becomes the law.
So you used to be off the hook, Barry, but now you're back on the hook.
I have to look further into this. There must be a way out.
Yeah, there's a way out. Rest in peace.
I don't know.
Okay, so what did I just say? I just said that since the Jewish people accepted upon themselves to bury a miscarriage, that it follows that it becomes an obligation, just like davening Mariv.
Right.
Deshavinhu alehu chova. What is deshavinu?
And it's become upon us as if it is a whole.
It's become upon us an obligation, and I don't know this abbreviation.
Ad kan l'shana, end quote.
End quote. Im Kane, I don't know, Hava something?
Hu hadin, im kain hu hadin.
It is the law. I guess therefore it is the law.
Le'ever min achai,
Abraham min achai, a limb, didas, that is known, hanod they.
That's the Noda be Yehuda Tanina, Noda be Yehuda Tanina.
That is known according to the Noda Yehuda Tanina, and
one second.
Tanina means argument?
No. He's made the case that something which is a custom becomes the law, as we see from Ma'ariv. Ma'ariv was not an obligation, but now that we've accepted as upon ourselves as a custom to daven Ma'ariv, now becomes an obligation to out of law to daven Ma'ariv. So likewise, what is said by Avraham min achai as well, according to the das of the Noda be Yehuda.
Tanina is derived from Taina, from an argument. What's the source of Tanina?
No. Tanina means in the Noda be Yehuda Tanina means the second volume.
Thank you.
That's simply the reference. That's simply the reference in the Noda be Yehuda.
Thank you.
Okay.
you were gonna do the next abbreviation, Rabbi.
Not sure to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Will be
It's probably another source, right?
yeah, another source, right?
De Medina, that the government.
That's a good try, but it means according to the strict letter of the law. The Medina, according to the law.
That according to the law, what is this abbreviation?
Ein Sorach Kvura. We're talking about according to the Noda be Yehuda, the Avraham min achai does not lawfully need to be buried. We call Malcolm, nevertheless.
Mikomakom, nevertheless, also le didahu,
According to him, the notable Yehuda, even according to the notable Yehuda,
according to him,
Al Kol Panim, nevertheless,
al kopanim, nevertheless, mechiyuv, it's an obligation, the kavor, to bury mipnei tum'ah de kohanim, because of the impurity or impurity to the kohanim, because we're worried that it will make the kohanim tameh.
right.
Ubesefer
Amek Shaila, the Sefer Amek Shaila.
Emek Shaila, in the book Emek Shaila, Chatanu Divrei Chaim. They sinned with the words of life.
Chatnu, Besefer Emek Shaila, Chitnu the Divrei Chaim, right? He cites the words of the Divrei Chaim. The Divrei Chaim is a sefer in Shilas Teshuvos. Sharisi b'mikra, and that Sharisi that I saw in the original Makor, and I saw in the original.
Original manuscript?
Yeah. Mhm.
Gam Cain,
Good.
Domani,
Dumani, it's also Dumani, it seems to me,
should die so that, in my opinion, should tzarich, that it's required l'kvor min hadin, to bury from the law. It's required by law to bury the limb from a living person.
right? Not simply because of the concern about the tumah for the Kohanim.
Shesayich gam kain his vara de avnei tzedek. That it's appropriate also, according to the opinion of the Avnei Tzedek, Le'inyan Nafal, from the matter of the miscarriage
Aniska La'el, that was mentioned above.
De Kevan de Kavar Kablu Alehem Likvor, that since the kavar that already,
Right, the kivan dikvar kibul lechem lekavor. That's even that in relation to the question of the miscarriages, since they already accepted upon themselves to bury it. Kivan dikvar kibul lechem lekavor. Even now that they have already accepted the burial of them and the miscarriages.
Haya me iza ta'am sheyeh. It is from this reason
that yeh me'ezetam yeh, meaning the custom is that they bury the miscarriages for whatever reason there is. yeah, me'ezetam, yeah, well, for whatever reason there may be.
For whatever
Is it
reason there may
in-
be.
Right,
E
in
mishum tuma, e mishum chiyuv. Whether because of tuma or whether because of obligation. Im kain mamela kavar shevenihu alehu lechova. Therefore, it follows that it's equivalent.
It's become upon us l'chayv. It's now equivalent to us as a obligation.
Like Maru.
That's right. Exact. That's the point. Very good, Barry. Right.
So whether it's because of tame or whether it's because of obligation, it follows that it is now equivalent to an obligation.
Right.
Im kain mamela kashita de mechiyuvin likavor the living the limb. I forgot what this the
Aver minachai.
aver mean hachai. I don't know. I have a mental block. Therefore, it follows that it is simple,
Obvious. It's obvious.
obvious that from the obligation to bury that there is an obligation to bury Avram Minachai.
Right. So whether it's because of a obligation in actual halacha or because of the custom, but practically speaking, there is an obligation to bury the Aver Minachai.
And a miscarriage falls under that category of Aver Menachai?
Yeah, that's right.
Miscarriage. I wonder, does anybody know when you enter a hospital and they're going to say Chas v'shalom remove one of your kidneys? Do they require you to sign a release that they can do anything they want? I mean, what happens if a person says, I want that kidney in a jar? I mean, the hospital, does the hospital have the right to say, no, I'm sorry, once you agreed to undergo our procedure, that's it. You have no rights to that kidney. Does anybody know what the halacha is?
I mean, there's one thing, there's halacha, and there's another thing.
I mean, secular halacha.
I don't know. I'm not sure what it's dependent upon. Right? Could depend on individual hospitals, on state or local laws. I have no idea what it could be dependent upon.
I know that if there's a miscarriage in America, in California anyway, the halacha is consistent with what the hospital's practices are. In other words, if you ask a shaila, you had a miscarriage, you ask a shaila about the disposition of the fetus, the rabbi will tell you, let the hospital take care of it. They'll do the right thing.
I know there was a situation, everybody should be spared from this, but when my son-in-law was in New York State, and never he died suddenly at a very young age, and it was so complicated to get the mace, the body, back from New York State to Pennsylvania, to the funeral home in Pennsylvania. It was so complicated to comply with New York state law and then Pennsylvania law, and it just was a nightmare.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not,
And it had nothing to do with halacha, it just had to do with the state law.
yeah.
But with my mother, maybe because we made arrangements ahead of time, we weren't aware of any problems.
Uh-huh.
Even given that she passed away from corona, and
Mhm.
so there was, various concerns about it being contagious. And we were told, like, for example, we couldn't we had to handle the mace in certain ways because of corona concern. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, it
Yeah.
was all pretty straightforward.
Usually the local Chevra Kadisha knows, they're familiar with the local laws, and they're also familiar with the various officials. I mean, they usually have contacts with the officials who are dealing with these laws, and it's because they've had experience with these things. So in
Yeah.
general, if the local Chevra Kadisha is involved, they can usually expedite the process. Depending,
Right.
if everything is more or less usual. It's not such an
Mhm.
unusual case.
We did have some problems that caused it to take a long time. But my understanding was that was because of a mix-up with the doctor and the death certificate.
Mhm.
That was the delay was because of that, not because of legal complications.
Yeah, Lawyer Reno. Ay,
Right.
ay.
Mhm.
My turn, or are we done
Uh,
for today?
Let's see, we have, let's try and do this one more last paragraph, then we can maybe start something fresh tomorrow, Blinetta. If you don't mind.
Ukashi Sarme of
Uvda kazoo, when it occurred to me a situation like this, an actual situation occurred.
Eitzel mi shehu beves hacholim. When it was someone in a hospital.
Right. So he the question came up Lamaisa when someone who had been in a hospital. So the question was now relevant in actuality.
Tzarichin lehishtadal b'chol ma de efshar lehotzi misham. That it was required. Lehishtadal, I don't know.
To endeavor, the kol mashefta, to endeavor with all possibilities.
With all possibilities to take it out from there.
Right. Take the limb out from there and to bury it.
Ha'aver, the limb, ule kavru, to bury it. Af the leka.
Even though that there is no after the chora, even though it seemingly was not relevant there, the time of tuma.
Lo shayich b'shem hatam b'tuma Hevan de avleha.
Kevin the Balav Hachi, even because even without this, right?
Even without this, concern of the tuma.
Right, because even without the concern of tumor, you still should try and get the limb out of the hospital and buried properly, even without the concern of tumor, because yesh lehem b'sham avorim u'meisin islamic. They already had their many limbs and cadavers there that they would be learning from. They would try and learn from.
So even without the concern for tuma, they don't have a need for this limb, so we need to get it out of there and bury it.
Right.
Mikom makom mishum deyesh savra gedola, and nevertheless, because there was savra is a thought.
So Svara Gadola, there's a concept or a thought. Yeah, a concept or a thought.
A significant concept, lomar, to say dechiyuv kavora bezeh, that the obligation to bury this he mitam mitzvos kavora. This is because of the reason of the commandment to bury.
Mitzvah's kavora, because of the mitzvah burial.
Gam kevan de kavar kablu alehem likvor, and also since they already accepted upon themselves to bury mishum tuma, because of tuma, kavar naaseh lechuva, it already became a obligation. The kido divad varim keilu keelu be'anini kivora tzarichin ma'od lahachamir. What is this word? Kidua?
Because as it is known.
As it is known, it is as if
That in these matters
A burial.
involving burial, you must be very, very strict.
Kevan sheyesh bezeh gam divarim na'al mim na'al mayim v'nish gavim.
Right.
Since that there is in this also a matter of na'al mim, I don't know.
That since there are in concerning the issues of burial, there are things there that are nulling. There are things which are concealed and is governing and very
Mysterious.
it's like more exalted. I mean, when you're dealing with burial, like you have to be very careful because there are many things which are not open. Many things are not discussed openly, and nevertheless, they're still very exalted and
Concealed.
they conceal and Uh, um, and- Right, they're not everything, let's put better than concealed, they're very obscure, things are very obscure and and um, um, like sublime, they're very obscure and sublime. Yeah, obscure, they're things which are obscured and sublime.
In other words, we want to be very strict about burial because of these things that we don't really understand,
Right.
aspects
Okay.
of it that we don't really understand.
Right, and and also I'll just add myself. It's final. Once these things are done, you can't retract these things. There's no rectification for these things. So, but that's not to say that you couldn't do if they needed to do experiments on it and things like that, like Ramosha Mata doing experiments on it, as long as eventually it'll be brought to Kvura, right? So, and you see there's a machlokas whether there's an actual mitzvah to bury or not. Some say there's no mitzvah whatsoever to bury. Some say there is a mitzvah to bury. Some say it's a mitzvah because of the minhag that's been developed now. And so you have a wide range of opinions here. So, but if you can, in all possibilities, to be strict about it, so you're certainly not going to lose out in general by being strict about these things.
Rabbi, there's a pasuk in Tehillim. It says Lam that says Korach al alomos shir. So that means hidden songs.
Almost here. I have to take a look at the pasuk.
I mean, this is.
I'd have to take a look.
Okay. So that means that there's some hidden meaning in that particular Tehillim that they're writing here.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be that's part of the preface. Could be part of the preface. Okay.
All right.
Fine. We've gone a bit over time, but okay, we came to the end of this, so we'll be starting, I think, a new topic tomorrow. But then I'll try and send something out later today or tomorrow morning for everybody. In the meantime,
All right. So we're taking a
Roy,
break
have
now.
good day. We'll take a break and see everyone in a few minutes. And Roy, have a good day. Hope to see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. See you soon.